Hey guys, okay, it's exciting day because I finally start to get back into putting the car back together again. So, alright, time to fit the ducktail. First of all, I've gone on and I've fitted on this factory boot latch. I have my trusty go everywhere boot stand, and everything is pretty much ready to just bolt up. I'm pretty happy with that for a start. Alright, so now we've got the bar loosely taped into place. I've got to work out now the best ways to actually mount it to the car. My method, I think, is going to be, I'll probably bolt it through here behind the tail light, which means I'm going to have to repair this panel first. So then I've got something to actually bolt it to. So I'll bolt it through there, and then I'll bolt it through here, and probably a couple of places along the edge, and that'll be bolted on. Okay, and there's the rear initial fit up complete. Alright, I've just got a package of goodies from Auto House Hamilton, so let's have a look and see what we've got. Porsche original parts, that looks good. A headlight, fantastic. So goodbye sugar scoops. That'll be a second headlight. A beautiful chrome horn grille. And a whole heap of rubbers. And I've got an invoice, and I've got caramel koala. Thanks, James. After just playing around with the front guard a little bit, I realised I really need to get the bonnet on first to get that lined up, and that will help me line up the front guard. This particular bonnet, just going through it, is actually a long hood bonnet, but it's been modified with a short hood frame underneath. So I haven't actually had to remove and move the latch system, so I can actually just use the standard short hood latch with a long hood bonnet. So I've started fitting the front guard, and I've just sat it in place and taped it on in roughly the right spot. Now it's sitting in too far here. That gap is much bigger than what I like, and I'll probably have to modify it later. But it's in roughly the right place, and what I'm going to do is use some of these self-tapping screws and screw it into place loosely to start with, and then I can start my adjusting and making it all fit nicely. Now to fit this side of the guard, what I've done is I've drilled out through these little captive nuts here into the guard so I can see where I need to drill, and then I've gone through to the inside and taken a 10mm drill bit and drilled out a much larger hole, so I've got a bit of adjustment there so I can use the original bolts into those holes. Alright, and that's the left-hand guard on. It's now it's all on, and it's reasonably well lined up. There's a little bit of a gap at the top that's a bit large. What I'll do later is go through and fix up all the panel gaps perfectly, but I'm pretty happy with it. Alright, another issue I came across is because this is a long bonnet with a short frame, a lot of guys have mentioned that it's almost impossible to reach up underneath and get to the bonnet release. So what I've done is I've actually welded on a little bit of bracket. It was actually a piece of angle iron that looked something a bit like that I just sort of trimmed up into bits and made a latch. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, but it works quite well, and it fits down in here nicely, so there's another little issue out of the way. Alright, one of the next challenges I've come across is the fact that these fiberglass front guards don't actually have a fuel filler spot in it. So that's got me thinking, do I try and manufacture a fuel filler spot place? I had a look at the original one, and there's going to be a lot of fabrication to try and get that to work, and I'm not sure if I'm really up for it. Another option is to go the center of the bonnet fuel filler. Again, I don't particularly like the idea of that. I don't think, for me at least, practically it'll be much fun having to lean over the car all the time, trying to fill it up and getting fuel all over the bonnet, etc. The method I think I'll probably end up going with is I'll modify the fuel filler on the petrol tank so that it actually sits about here in the engine bay, and I'll just fill it up from there, opening the bonnet when I stop at the service station. It's not ideal. I don't see an easier method to get it to work. Interested in your thoughts, see what you guys think. Alright guys, this is where it starts getting interesting because I've got to start fitting the front bar to the car. Now first things first is I've measured and found the center of the front bar, and I measured and found the center of the car. So I've lined that up here. As you can see these blue marks here, and I don't know if you can see that on the car, that I found the center so I can then get a point of reference to start fitting it to the car. The next issue I have is that this front bar is not designed to go with these front guards. These front guards are slightly different. And subsequently, the sides of the front bar actually stick out wider than the guards. So what I have to do now is I have to modify them to fit these guards and make it all fit nicely. Alright guys, I've done a bit of thinking to try and work out how I can make some decent brackets to hold this front bar on, and what I've come up with is I've got some bolting spots on the front bar right here, and I'm going to bolt on a piece of square tubing, and then what I've done is I've cut out these bits of angle iron that I will then weld a couple of captive bolts into it and then weld them together like that. So then when I lift it up, this will just bolt straight onto the car right there like that, and it'll make it quite easy to put the bar on and off. That's my method. I don't know if others have got better methods of mounting it, but for me that seems like it'll be pretty good. Alright, and that's all bolted in. So now that's fixed in the front, my next challenge is to work on these sides and see if I can get them to fit a bit better. So what I've got to do is, this particular side is flexing more than the other, so I have to cut a couple of wedges out here so that I can flex this in further, and then also cut some strips down here, and hopefully I can sort of peel it all back in, line it up, and then re-fiberglass it and make it all blend in nicely with the car. The price I pay for your entertainment. Alright, so after a lot of cutting and strapping and shaping, I've managed to get a pretty good line here. I've also done some underneath, as you can sort of see under here. And basically that should, with a bit of fiberglass on the back, be a pretty good line. It's probably a lot more art than science to getting this lining up nicely. And now I've got to tackle the other side. And this side didn't take as much effort because it was a bit closer to what we needed. So now it's time to take it off and fiberglass it up. Alright, so let me take you through what I've done now. So with the bar, I've gone through and all the strapping has been done, and I've taped up the back of it so that the resin doesn't soak through too far. So that's all ready to be fiberglass there. Same on this side. And then on the edges that I want to expand, I've actually stuck the bit of plastic on there and made some of these fences, which are falling over at the moment, that should hold the fiberglass in reasonably well. And same on the bonnet edge here that I just want to expand. Okay, so the finished product is not that pretty, but it does the job. So that's all held together. So now it's a matter of bogging and smoothing that out, and it'll be all good. You can see here. All right, now that I've gone through, I've got all the fiberglassing done, but now I'm going to go through with the fiberglass body filler to bulk out some of these edges a bit more. There's sort of a framework there with the current fiberglass, and using the other fiber filler, it all bonds together and give it a bit more structure. All Alright, after a bit of backwards and forwards, basically what we've come up with is we've actually gone through, and you can see I've gone over the front and the back with the fibre body filler and extended these edges. So they're a bit rough and ugly at the moment. That gives me a place to start with where I've extended them, and then I can now put them back on the car and trim them to shape and then finish them up with some body filler, and hopefully once they're all trimmed and done, we'll have nice, neat, even panel gaps all the way around and a really nice fitting body kit. Alright, you can see here that the fit is much better, but it's far from perfect. Same with on here, I've overextended this bonnet a fair bit, so I'll just take it back off again and trim it and put it back on, and then basically that'll be the body kit fitted, hopefully. Alright, so that's another job down. The body kit is now fitted to the car. I've extended the bonnet wider and got the panel gaps better. I'll finish that up properly when I go to the body filler stage, so that's still got a little bit more finessing to get it perfect. Also, with the front bar, I've still got to get these indicators, which aren't here yet, so that will be a little bit more finessing probably in that bottom corners when I do that, but the rest of it's on. The bar lines up nicely with the front guards now. It's all been modified. Everything's fitting relatively well the way I want it, so it's a matter of moving forward to the next step, and yeah, I'll see what we've got in store for next time.